America is running out of ammo, Biden is admitting the problem, then why aren't we doing anything about it? General, you've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah, we have major defense industrial base issues as it pertains to ammunition. We have significant shortages. It's well documented. The president isn't saying anything that isn't well known, and it's out there in terms of long-range anti-ship missiles, precision-guided munitions. When we play a war game against China in the Indo-Pacific region just recently, it's documented we ran out of significant missile capability within a week. So, yeah, we have major defense issues in terms of our industrial base and our capacity. And the Ukraine war, in a sense, has brought that to light for us to do something about it. We've got to get the Congress to authorize multi-year contracts. And I think to solve the problem, Maria, the solution can't be business as usual because we can't catch up. What we have to do is put the defense industrial base on a war footing, even though we're at peacetime, so we would be ready if war does come to the United States and we're prepared to go. We can't do it once the conflict starts because we're already behind.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look, and then there's China in the middle of all of this. And I want to get your take on what the CCP is now calling on the U.S. to do. They want practical action in response to the major concerns about sanctions on Chinese firms after Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's trip. One lever to pull that I've been talking about for so long is pulling capital markets and limiting some of the investment that goes into some of these Chinese companies by unwitting investors. China's military reportedly developing new high-tech weapons designed to disrupt brain functions to influence government leaders or entire populations, General. And here we have, a number of investments in Chinese companies that are tied to the military. Syngenta is one that comes to mind. This is Syngenta AG. It's a subsidiary of China National Chemical and the affiliate of Sinochem Group. It was on a sanctions list under Trump, but President Biden took it off the sanctions list, and sure enough, now it's going public. Again, allowing tons of investment from investors all around the world. It's going to go public in Shanghai. Your thoughts on using the capital markets lever to push back on the aggression from China, and what did you make of Janet Yellen's trip?
Well, I think I disagree with the administration. Listen, it's important to have dialogue with our adversaries. We've proven that throughout the Cold War. So I'm not suggesting we shut that down, but I think we've got to take a realism pill here that we've tried time and again to change China's behavior through diplomacy and talks. It doesn't work. China talks good but plays tough. And that's just the reality of what we're dealing with. Nothing changes. The Trump administration, after 2 years of effort and personal by the president himself, came to the same conclusion that talks do not change their behavior. The only thing that changes behavior is what you're suggesting, Maria, is actions taken by the United States to restrict the infusion of capital. Because every technology that China develops, the first thing they look at is what's the military application. And you're talking about now neurostrike weapons to attack people's cognitive functions. Well, that's a prime example of new research, and the first thing they look at is what's the military application of that new research. So, yes, one of the things that hit them hard was the export controls on semiconductor technology going to China, the fact that we shut it down. The reason why they wanted to talk to Secretary Treasury Yellen is because they don't want any more of that. And they want the United States to pull back on things that they've already done. And you mentioned a few of them right there. What we need to do is more of that. We've got to recognize that we cannot keep investing in China's military capability with our capital on the one hand, and also on the second hand with the technology itself. And that's why the China Select Committee has been so important, to expose these issues for the Congress's consumption and also the American people. But your recommendations right there are spot on in terms of restrictions we should be imposing.
Yeah, thank you. And General, is there anything more obvious than looking at corporate America to pull back. I mean, look at that surveillance balloon. Much of the technology in the surveillance balloon that was spying on American citizens and on our military bases was American-made. So corporate America has a role here. There were enablers back in Nazi Germany days as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the American public should be exposed to what we discovered as a result of that spy balloon. The administration promised that, and they have not given us the information. I think the reason is there's always this concern and tension in the administration about provoking China, Maria, and we wring our hands about that. We got to stop it. Stop self-deterring our rhetoric. I mean, we're adults. China's adults. They got big boy pants on, and they play tough, and we got to stand up to them and make certain that they understand where we stand. We don't need to pull back on our rhetoric. If we've got something to say and it's strong, say it. If we're trying to prohibit them and change their behavior, say it and then take the actions to back it up.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're looking at pictures of Janet Yellen bowing to her Chinese Communist Party partner there, which have gone viral across the world, General. Not a good picture for America. We so appreciate your time this morning, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Good talking to you.